as everyone should be well aware, the climate is changing. Now, it's always changing. The question is, big scheme, whether this year is going to be a degree or two warmer than last year isn't a big deal. Next year is going to be back to normal. But if the trends are, overall warming, or are they cooling? Are they sort of staying the same? Or what? Well, I've recently been listening to far too much geography, geology, history, just that sort of realm, YouTube. And one thing they agree is that the climate's warming up. I kind of agree with that. And they seem to be concerned about it. I don't agree. Because these geography channels, they all make a video talking about how Greenland used to be green. That's how it got its name. The Vikings were chased out by a definite drop in temperature, a mini ice age. Yeah, it was a problem. The poor Vikings. Whatever are they going to do? They weren't necessarily all Vikings, but all of a sudden it got way cold and people died, and it was tragic. And then it stayed cold. So those who survived left. That's what happened to the Vikings. And those other northern people, because I'm sure there were more that we just don't know about, because they weren't going around leaving written evidence, or much stone evidence at all. So they're gone, lost in history. It's weird to think of, but nevertheless. So the Vikings vanished. The Native Americans apparently didn't. And we're supposed to be concerned because Greenland is, horror of horrors, becoming green again. Now, I understand it's somewhat terrifying to look at the glaciers and see, oh yes, we can look at photos from 100 years ago compared to now, and they have visibly, massively shrunk. Like photography, brilliant invention, absolutely love it. It's very good for making you feel scared. And sometimes it's legitimate to feel scared, and sometimes the thing is, we don't have photographs of these glaciers from more than 100 years ago. Much more than that. We don't have drawings or any sort of notes. People apparently thought nothing of them until quite recently. There's a few notes, but I tried to ask my dad. Never mind that train of thought. So I'm looking at these shrinking glaciers, and I'm looking at Greenland turning green again. I'm looking at our last of historical record of these glaciers, and I'm going, so Greenland was green in the past. Do we really suppose the glaciers were there at that time? I want to know. Were there glaciers when Greenland was actually green? I don't know. You don't know. Yes, there are people who say, oh, of course. Places like Hawaii exist, where here's your tropics, trot up. There's your near polar temperatures. And you're right, those places do exist. And so, it's quite possible to believe that, yes. And there are, forests and things right up the glaciers, nearabouts. So yeah, of course. But I still wonder, were those glaciers there? Those ones that are in the most delicate stages right now. Even the ones that are currently, further north, shrinking. Oh my goodness, all our glaciers are shrinking. Our icebergs are shrinking. Were were they there? I want to know. I kind of doubt it. Makes you question, what did polar bears do during this time? Were they, freezing? Did they, have to adapt real quick? Then adapt back real quick? Were they just faster at adapting back then? What happened? I don't know. I weren't there. You weren't there. And nobody who was there saw fit to write it down for us. You can go yell at them if you find a time machine, but then you'll be there. So you won't have to. You can just come back and tell us. So I'm a young earth creationist. I believe that I was created 60,000 years ago. Everything. Not millions of years ago. I believe God's real. Had a lot of fun. And there's been, natural selection. Things change. Things change. I have changed. Let me tell you. Some of these changes have been good. Some of these changes have been bad. But I have changed. So of course, I think things have changed since he put them on Earth. We live in a beautiful world. A world that is ever changing. We like to view it as stagnant for some reason. And we liked the idea of keeping places the same. I don't know what my thoughts are on this. There are a lot of invasive species. And these invasive species can be wiping out other species. And that I feel sad about. I don't want to see species wipe out other species. I think we should encourage the diversity God put here on the earth. But sometimes I feel like you gotta realize it's changing. And that's okay. Sometimes things you think are how it's been. Out here in Kansas, the Great Plains. So flat, so treeless. That's a lie. A lie, I tell you. Eastern Kansas would not be treeless. As I walk here, I'm outside. I'm going for a walk. There are trees everywhere. Now, a lot of these are windbreaks, but not all of them. Not all of them. Let me tell you. In here, we have a law. You burn your field every 3 years or so. Because if you don't, you're going to have trees. And then, if you aren't taking care of those trees, you're going to have forest fires. Real bad ones. A little grass fire, not a big deal. I mean, it's very hard to catch a well-built house on fire from a little bit of grass. A couple big dead trees near your fire. Did that catch up on fire near your house? That'll go. That'll go. So, we have to burn. Legally. It's law. You get in trouble. Have to have it burned for you. Because that's how the Native Americans decided they were treating it. I want the European settlers, when they got here, they're like, yeah, this is what we're doing to keep it the same. And let me tell you, it could change. I look at our yard, which sure has some trees in it, but every year we go through, we dig up hundreds of trees, mow down hundreds of trees. Between our yard, our neighbor's yard, so many trees get dug up, get mowed over, get chopped down, because we like this myth that Kansas is treeless. Despite the fact that if we look out our windows, we see it's not. That is very easy to grow trees in Kansas. They're just shorter than they are where they get more rain. So I look at the climate change, and I think to myself, yeah, it's changing. Is it a big change? Is it a bad change? Is it a change I'm worried about? Honestly, the temperature, I'm not real concerned about. The plastic, yeah, rather more concerned about. It's noxious. I was talking with someone. I was like, for my clothes, everything I make, to be completely natural fibers. I mean, I'll put a little bit of rubber and things that need elastic, but I don't have a latex allergy. I don't really interact with anyone. I don't interact with anyone who really has a latex allergy. I'm fine with a bit of rubber. I didn't quite put it like that, but I was like, she's like, that's not you. Only using only natural fibers is not going to help the problems within the fashion industry that are wrecking our planet. And I'm like, yeah, but if everybody chose natural fibers as much as possible, we'd stop making plastic so much. We'd stop reusing plastic. We'd stop trying to get rid of plastic. Because how do you get rid of plastic? Yeah, there's a few ways. You can recycle it. That just delays the inevitable. It does degrade in the sun, in the wind, in the rain. It's not invulnerable, impenetrable. It might break down into, teensy little pieces. Molecules so big. Those are problematic, because they can get in things without trying. So I care more about trying to minimize the plastic goes through my hands. And to me, that's more important than worrying about the temperature. I think the temperature's been up higher than it's been recently. I know we talk about, it's the hottest it's been in recorded history. That's in recorded history. We don't really know what came before accurate thermometers. Terrible secret, I know. Terrible thing. Oh my goodness. We don't know what the temperatures really were before accurate thermometers. We can give a guess based on there were a lot of green in Greenland, which isn't true. So we look at how the world used to be, how it now is, and go, was it warmer? Maybe. What's the main issue here? I think I should be more concerned about plastics than the rising temperatures. I mean, sure, you shouldn't go about trying to heat up the world. But I don't think you need to be worried about trying to bring the temperature down either. And sure, the coastlines will change. And that'll be a bit of a pain, because we have all of these lovely maps that are more or less set in stone. And if they change too much, do we change them? Do we carve new stones? What do we do? As borders changed, such? I don't know. I know I was told, by the time you're in your 20s, so much land will be underwater when I was a little girl. People are still living there. The land's still not underwater. So I really don't think so. I don't know. And that's with all these people reclaiming land. Pushing the water. In some places, they're, pushing the water off of land. So in theory, the water should be going somewhere. Should be going on to these places where they aren't actively working on pushing the water away, you'd think. And I know there are places that are shrinking, going under. But there ain't as many and as much as they thought. But they tried to scare me into believing. So I don't know. But I'm here to say, don't worry too much about that. And let's get rid of plastics. I vote We should start by taking plastics out of everyday layers of clothes. I mean, your jacket, sure, keep plastic in it. I enjoy my plastic raincoat very much, thank you. I have my plastic outer coat. And like shoes, just sort of outerwear. That can be plastic. I'm fine with that. The longer lasting things that I don't acquire too often, that last a long time, I'm fine with those being plastic. But anything that touches my skin, really? No, let's not put plastic in that. And let's also, another thing I kind of like is, can we be done with wrapping meat in plastic? This is like the worst of single-use plastics. Because unlike so many other types of foods, raw meat in particular, unlike so many other food things, you can reuse it. I mean, I know some people throw out sandwich bags after one use, but not in our family, not in many other families. I know people throw out yogurt cups. They wash them and just immediately throw them in the recycling bin. No, yogurt cups are very useful for 1,000,001 different things. Especially if they have lids. If they don't have lids, they're a bit of a pain, but you can still poke holes in them and use them for seed propagation. So, let's give it a meat and plastic wraps. The plastic that meat is wrapped in. It's a pain. Because you can't reuse it. Because it's had meat juices all over it. So yeah, that's my thought. And as for the polar bears, they'll have to adapt. That's what zoos are for. Maybe.